Hey guys, so today I'm doing a drawing of Lan Zhan from MDZSxGenshin, aka the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, which is a Chinese manhua, and there's also a show, there's like a live action show, and then there's also a actual like animated series. But anyways, I'm drawing Lan Zhan, and I was debating on what to actually draw for this video, to be honest, and I decided to do why not I draw characters that I like in Genshin form, which is basically give them a whole makeover that's Genshin based. So Genshin Impact is like my favorite game to play, and it's been for a long time, so I don't know if you guys are like tired of seeing it. If you've seen like a lot of my drawing videos, some of them like have a lot of Genshin, and I always mention it a lot of the time. So I decided to draw Lan Zhan in that form. Originally, I was going to draw him with Mondstadt clothing, but Mondstadt is more based off of Germany, and it wouldn't be really fitting for his character, even though that has like my favorite type of clothing aesthetic, to be honest, because I do like the Knights of Favonius, like Kaya, and I also am a fan of like Diluc's clothing. I decided to go for Liyue characters instead, because Liyue is actually based off of China more so than Mondstadt. So yeah, I decided to go for Liyue, and honestly, I didn't know what characters to start looking at. And then I thought, what about tall character models? And the one that basically stood out, that had a more calming demeanor, like in terms of personality, that kind of matched Lan Zhan in a way, would have been Master Zhongli. So I ended up going for him. Master Zhongli, aka Morax, is the god of Liyue, basically. He is like this god, and then he stepped down, kind of, and he basically made himself fit into the mortal world, so no one really knows who he is. He works at like a funeral parlor, and he even has a boss. He basically stepped down so much, but he actually did it because he loves his people, and yeah, there's a whole story behind it, and I'm not going to say too much about his character just in case people are new to playing Genshin, but Master Zhongli is kind of my favorite character in terms of characters that I don't like super like in a way. Like, I love Kaya and Diluc and Xiao and a couple other characters. As for him, he's more of like, I feel like this friend in the game rather than like a romantic interest, I would say, in terms of characters that I personally like on my list. So yeah, but he's super fancy, and he's actually like very calm, and he wears this tuxedo, so I thought it'd be fitting to kind of go with Master Zhongli's aesthetic and put it onto Lan Zhan. Now, there are some things where it wouldn't match. So for example, Master Zhongli is more of a Geo character, so I decided to make Lan Zhan an anemo character just because of his whole aesthetic. I feel like Lan Zhan's color is normally blue, and I know you guys would be thinking, why not make him hydro or like cryo, but I feel like the whole blue and the way that he just like, his original aesthetic is he wears like a headband on his forehead, and you always see it blowing in the wind like really beautifully in the show and the manhua, and I feel like just because of that I wanted to make him anemo. And also they have swords in the like where they come from, so basically they have swords that they can control, and they're kind of like spiritual weapons in a way, like they're tied to them spiritually, so normally only one person uses the specific sword. Lan Zhan's sword name is Bichen, and it's super pretty, and it's white, but I decided to go with a different sword in Genshin. I was asking my friend what swords would basically match, and he said, why not try the dark iron sword? I decided to do that. It is black color, which doesn't really fit his aesthetic, to be fairly honest, but I decided to draw it because the hilt and the handle kind of look similar to Bichen a little bit in a way. So yeah, As for the tux, I really wanted to draw the tux, and Lan Zhan's normal Chinese clothing actually has like these cloud patterns on like his shoulders, so I ended up keeping the cloud patterns on the tuxedo itself. I thought really fancy was really cool and also really pretty too, so I was going for all out fancy. I gave him a tie, just like Master Zhongli has, but instead for his tie, so Master Zhongli actually has this core lapis type of gem that's on his tie. However, because Lan Zhan is anemo, I thought it wouldn't be fitting to put like a crystal in it. So I decided to do a bunny symbol because Lan Zhan's favorite animals are actually rabbits. So I decided to do that for him. I actually simplified a lot of the buttons and a lot of like the details and designs on him because I thought it would be a bit too much details to draw, and also they might not fit his aesthetic because a lot of Master Zhongli's aesthetic is basically gray, like there's silver parts to it, and then there's more so brown and golden parts, which I didn't feel would match an anemo character. And Lan Zhan normally wears white, so a lot of the coloring process actually just became like the outfit itself was mainly white because of what he wears. I kept his belt though because I really like the belt and like the thickness of it. And then I added like the tassel that he has. Like he has this string tassel that's connected to his belt. I just kept it for the aesthetic to kind of match his character. And then I outlined some of the tuxedo, like this part, kind of like some gold colors. I really didn't want to like overdo the white and also the blue, so I kind of just put some gold in to make him seem a little bit of a fancy character. I know in Genshin a lot of characters have gold highlights on their outfits, so it matches. For him, I didn't actually draw his vision because a lot of Liyue characters actually have visions on the back of their clothing, and I feel like that's the main aesthetic, except for some characters like Chongyun, which I noticed because I did do a weighing drawing for that, so you guys will see that next. But basically, Chongyun's vision is on like his belt, but I also ended up not drawing that vision as well. I just felt like I wanted to keep most of the Liyue aesthetic where it's like the vision is on the back of their clothing, so you can just imagine that it's chained up to the back of Lan Zhan's like tuxedo, which Master Zhongli has his vision in that same position anyways too. I also kept the gloves. Master Zhongli has gloves that are really nice. The only difference is I changed the cuffs. Basically, Master Zhongli's tuxedo has these really big cuffs that are super nice and kind of cool, but I decided to change it that Lan Zhan has super long gloves that basically go over the sleeves of his tux, so you don't really see anything like the actual cuffs of the tuxedo itself. And on his left hand, if you don't notice, he actually has a ring on it. I decided to do a ring because he's supposed to be technically married to Wei Ying. I think by the end of the story, it was supposed to be that they did like this Chinese thing where basically you do the 3 bows and then it's some sort of prayer thing as well, and basically it means that you're married to the person. So that's kind of the translation. I don't know entirely like the whole story because I haven't read like the actual novel and stuff like that, so yeah, but I have like seen most of the show itself. But the show kind of cuts out some parts, which is kind of why I didn't really see everything as well. But I decided to give him a ring to match Wei Ying because I thought it would be super cute that way. And yes, he's wearing a ring on top of a glove. Master Zhongli also wears rings on his fingers on top of his gloves too, so it basically matches the aesthetic as well. I noticed there were so many layers to the tuxedo itself. At first I thought there was only 2, but then when looking at Master Zhongli's tuxedo, I realized there's like 3 or 4 layers to the actual clothing, and it got really confusing. I forgot to actually draw Lan Zhan's headband, but I thought that might not fit the aesthetic of Genshin characters because for the most part I haven't seen Genshin characters wear headbands, so I decided to keep that out. However, typically I would have drawn him with it because his clan wears headbands and it's supposed to be like this thing that they wear for show and they're not supposed to take it off. But I decided not to draw him with it, and I think he still looks okay without it. But yeah, just looking at the different Liyue characters, there's certain aesthetics that I wanted to kind of follow since it's supposed to be like a Genshin character. I did make it that his sword can fly though, just because it matches the manhua itself, like the character and what his abilities are. But I guess in Genshin you can kind of say some characters might have that ability as well, considering that I've seen like Kaveh when he swings his claymore, it's like floating and he's not really holding his claymore at all during certain moves. So you can say it's a possibility that a character could just make their sword or weapon float the entire time. Same thing in the show though. Lan Zhan is able to do that, so that's basically fine. And then also he's an anemo character, so we can claim that he's using his anemo to do that. I should have added like some swoops of like light blue and green colors to kind of show anemo around his sword, but I think I forgot to do that during this process, so it's okay I guess. I might add it later on afterwards, but yeah. The only thing is the sword didn't really match his color aesthetic just because it's black, but the hilt is kind of similar to it, so I guess you could say it's fitting. But anyways, it kind of matches Wei Ying more, I have to say, but my friend said this would be a good sword, so I just decided to use it anyways. I have to say I absolutely loved how this one turned out. It was really difficult, like, because I kept thinking about character designs that I personally liked a lot. Meanwhile, I have to go to character designs that, like, you know, I think are really cool. Like Master Zhongli looks super cool and fancy. I love fancy clothing, to be honest, but the fact that he's not like a super favorite character of mine means that I have to look at like characters that I don't normally look at and use that type of artwork and kind of translate it into the into Lan Zhan's clothing. However, also because the fact that Genshin Impact characters tend to have a lot more design on their clothing than I would typically draw, and also for the most part I have to say when I looked at like Genshin Impact versus Moldao Zushi actually has less detailing in terms of like so many like borders and like different patterns and aesthetics on the character's clothing, so it's easy to like block out and like draw. As for Genshin characters, it's more difficult because they have so many different details on them. So I was basically trying to simplify like Genshin clothing onto Lan Zhan, which is really difficult when you think about it, because you also have to think about the pattern and design and colors that would actually fit the character. So like Lan Zhan's are more like a blue and white like clothing type of character, so when you look at like someone like Master Zhongli who's wearing all dark colors, you kind of have to translate it differently. There are a lot of things like the buttons where I kind of just made it less detailed. There are supposed to be patterns like next to every single button. I can't even speak right now. There's supposed to be patterns next to every single button, but I decided to like take that away and dumb it down to basically like 3 circles, and that was it. I thought simple would be better, considering that Modao Zushi isn't like too complicated when it comes to designs, because they're more so Chinese traditional clothing. As for Genshin characters, it was a bit more difficult because they have more like patterns and stuff on their clothing. So just trying to blend both, I want to say trying to blend both like aesthetics into one was fairly difficult, but at the same time it was fun. Like, as long as you know the character that you're drawing, it's kind of fun to figure out like what would they look like wearing certain different types of clothing. I have to say my favorite type of clothing is fancy clothing, and whenever I see like male characters wearing fancy clothing, I'm like, that's the prettiest thing ever. So it's kind of matched that. I did also keep Lan Zhan's hairpin that he wears. So he wears like a white ribbon that on his hair bun, and then he has a hairpin on it. I did keep that as well, just because it's a signature thing that he wears, but I just left out the headband itself, which I think is okay because different fan art sometimes doesn't even have his headband on, so it's fine. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Check down in the description box below. I'll post my social media there, so you can like and follow those. I'll end up posting his process work there. If you have any requests for any types of different drawings you want, like different characters and stuff that you want to see in my style, definitely let me know in the description box below. I would love to hear your requests on different characters, and I'll look into drawing those. But yeah, my next video will definitely be the weighing version of this, and I'm super excited to be drawing like different characters that I like in Genshin Impact style. I might also do Sanglang and Xiliang, which are from the Heaven's Official Blessing, because those two are actually characters that I like as well. So I might actually draw them in that form as well. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye!